wash the money, and live happily ever after. Can you imagine that some of the world's richest people have charities that have nothing to do with helping people? Let me tell you of a fantastically rich duo born and raised in Nigeria, obviously without using their real names. It all started with a child called Chike. Though Chike was born essentially poor, he had a talent, a gift. He was good with computers. His dad found out when he was around 9 years old that he liked to tinker with gadgets and eventually invested all his money into savings and bought Chike his first computer. Now with that came so much excitement and joy for Chike that he started to tinker with it, studied everything he could, read books, turned it on, opened it left, right, and center, trying to find out the mysteries it held. By the time Chike was 11, he had already started to learn how to code and would practice by hacking into his neighbor's Wi-Fi. Year in, year out, he learned, he studied, he tried and tested, and by the time he was 15, his coding skills were top notch. He could write codes really quickly, very intricate codes that even some of the best would take a minute to decode. Getting into age 16, Chike was pretty much advanced by this time. He had started cloning websites. And to be honest, it kind of started as a joke. He would start with bloggers and some fake news sites, and he would clone the website and do, quite frankly, whatever he wanted. Occasionally, if he found a website he didn't like or a website that he thought was bad, he would write really, really terrible comments on it to get it pulled down or banned completely. And quite frankly, it was all just fun and games for the most part. But you know what? Somebody noticed him, a young boy called Adeka. You see, Adeka was not good in school. He dropped out, but he had his ear to the ground and street smarts was his bread and butter. He knew how to get things done, and when he saw that Chike had a gift, he decided to make him his partner in crime. Adeka had an eye for fraudulent activities, and with Chike, who was good at cloning websites, he knew he had a master plan ready to reap. So he approached Chike and told him that, oh, we're going to start really cute, really simple, very easy. You're going to clone a fintech company. When people try and make payments to said fintech company, it's going to come into our bank accounts. Now, Adeka was older than Chike, so he was the one who opened the bank account. It was in his name. Chike did the cloned website, and there you had it. People would pay in dollars, and it would land into Adeka's bank account in Naira. $100 was a lot for two young kids with no money, but little by little, that money started to grow. And before they realized, they had opened 2, 3, 4, 5 different cloned websites. With all the money rolling in, they also had to increase the number of bank accounts they were using. They couldn't keep using one bank account before the banks and authorities noticed and eventually flagged it. The cloned websites were so good that the URLs were almost identical that people could, quite frankly, not even tell the difference. By the time the two had been doing this for a year, the money in their bank account was overflowing and their sites were giving them money on a regular basis. So Adeka said, look, it won't be long before the government, the bank, somebody catches wind of this operation. So let's find a way to make this legit. Adeka said, I'll get a proper job. I'll get a 9 to 5. I will, work up the ladder, get a managerial position or some proper role in it, and then we could start to look legit. So that's what he did. He actually got a proper 9 to 5 job. He worked his way up, sort of, and then eventually he was given, some level of clearance in his company. With that position and that clearance, he turned right around and went to the bank and requested a $5,000 loan. Of course, the bank gave it to him because, of course, he had a job, he was in a good position, he'd been there for several years. With that money, Adeka and Chike built a barbershop business. And there was the plan. Use the barbershop business, inflate their sales, hire the top best barber in Lagos, ensure that they had consistent clients, inflate their sales, use the money in their bank account as their sales money, launder it, wash the money, and live happily ever after. And to be honest, it kind of worked. Over the next 5 years, their barbershop became 5 different barbershops in Lagos and Abuja. They were doing so well. They were known, and they were able to use the money that was in their accounts that they had gotten from the cloned websites to fund the business and keep washing that money throughout the barbershop businesses. But you see, there was one thing that wasn't sitting well with Adeka: taxes. He couldn't keep giving the Nigerian government half of their money, a quarter of their money, all in the name of taxes left, right, and center. So he said, you know what? Do you know one thing that is never taxed? Churches and NGOs. How about we build one? Hold up, wait, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now let's go back to the show. But of course, with every plan comes a story. So they built a story. They went on social media and announced that, these two men who had at this point made so much money that they were millionaires were now going to change lives for the youth of Nigeria. They got on social media, announced that they had built an NGO. This charity organization had the goal and the dream to pick up people from the streets, feed them, clothe them, teach them a skill, give them a job, and send them back out into the world. No more poverty, no more suffering. This is what they wanted to do to give back to their communities, and everybody loved it. They set up a social media account, they put up a donation link, and donations started flooding in. But you know what? Again, those numbers weren't accurate. Using Chike's coding skills and obviously all the money they had accumulated, they started to run the money through the charity. If somebody would pay $1,000 in donation, they would inflate it to $10,000. If somebody would put $500 in the account, they would inflate it to $5,000. And little by little, they built the finances of the NGO off the backs of fraudulently acquired money. But you see, both Chike and Adeka did not want to do the whole marriage and wives and kids. They did not want their downfall to be due to a woman they'd married who'd taken half. But unfortunately for them, that is exactly how it was. By this time, Chike and Adeka are millionaires. They have a profitable barbershop business that is essentially a chain. They have an NGO that is racking in dollars and dollars they are supposedly giving back to their community. They are loved, but they're in their 40s and they're refusing to marry and settle down. Instead, they date, young girls, 20 something age girls, and they live the lavish life. One such girl was Vanessa, and she was dating Chike. She was living the best life, high life, traveling, buying gifts, shopping left, right, and center. She was living her very best life in her early 20s, jetting off to every single location she felt like, a credit card, a black card, everything paid for by her millionaire boyfriend. I mean, what more could she ask? So she planned a girls' trip. She and a couple of her friends were going to go to the US of A. They were going on a shopping spree. They were going to have a vacation. They were going to eat, love, party, have the best time of their life. So Vanessa went ahead to the States. She went roaming from location to location. She passed by an Adidas store and spent over $100,000 in just that one shop. After having spent all that money, she went over to Starbucks and decided to, feast and grab lunch. She goes up to pay and the card declines. She says that's not possible. She tries again a second time and said, card declines. She tries a second card, again, all paid for and funded by Chike. Again, card decline. The store owner looks at her and goes, look, that's not going to fly. That's not going to work. And Vanessa standing there arguing with this woman like, my man is one of the richest men in Nigeria. Baby girl, I got the money. I don't know why this is not working. The store attendant says, look, girl, I don't care if your husband is the president. Your card's been declined. You're not getting anything from here. With that, Vanessa places a call to Chike. She says, hey, Chike, my cards have declined. What's going on? Chike is confused and a little stunned, but he, hangs up the call and says he'll fix it. Unfortunately for her, Vanessa has to walk out of the shop without getting anything. On Chike's side of things, he finds out that following the over $100,000 spent from his card at the Adidas shop, that account had been blocked and suspended upon suspicion of fraudulent activity. The FBI was looking into it and had finally linked that account to Adeka's bank account. Now, this is when things started to fall apart. Vanessa was taken into custody for interrogation, and Chike and Adeka were found, extradited to the United States, and arrested. They were charged with stealing money from corporations and money laundering. All assets were frozen, bank accounts closed, everything was given over to the state. Chike and Adeka were left with nothing as they faced trial. Both eventually pled guilty to all their charges and currently face up to 20 years in prison. Now that's an entangled web. That's all I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Entangled Web Stories. We catch you every single Saturday. Bye!